Probably could rein in some of those. Elimination match of the day could come to a close here in game number 2 if the Kaolin Wardens are able to find another victory that would send the Sages home and end their SPL hopes for the year here in Season 10 of the Smite Pro League. And, of course, as such, would keep the Wardens' hopes alive. And, Trelly, El Leon won't get the Naja back. But another El Leon pick. Is this a Wheelix? And there's some decent setup for this Wheelix and El Leon throughout the course of this game.
There certainly is. And I think that there is a lot of ways to deal with a Wheelix as well. The Athenian Sages have plenty of knock-up immunity on their side that can help them, you know, just try and disrupt that pull and not get hit by it in the slightest. But also, Wheelix just has good early damage. You know, if you start a blink and you just find a carry, like levels 2 to 3, you've got 100 to 0 capabilities if you have just a little bit of help from your carry. So I'm curious to see where that Wheelix gets active, probably in the mid lane, maybe even heading over to duo early. We've seen that done plenty of times. Just an early gank over towards the duo lane. You know, you go for an immobile target. I see a Freya could be the option, but Wowie does like to play very safe, sit back whenever possible. So just have to watch out and see where that goes. This time around, yeah, it looks like El Leon is just going to continuously do this play where he tanks up everything for his team, backs, and goes for that second speed buff. And keeps their health healthy. And, like I said, I don't think the other team even notices. They're like, hey, he could be ganking. We don't know where he is. Be careful.
Right, and what we saw from game 1 is that it actually didn't set him behind at all. I truthfully thought at first he'd just taken too much damage and didn't want to stick around. And now I'm seeing it's actually more of a calculated effort. And actually even pulls the speed over to the Harpies that I guess apparently get left by the duo lane. So this is sort of a tried strategy from the Kaolin Wardens to siphon some farm over to El Leon. And XP-wise, I guess, keeps all things equal, but does provide a bit of a different look. This is the same thing Leon did in game 1, though. Got beads off of Jangaru almost immediately. There's Blink for El Leon, but not the pathing required. A yell from Short Fuse will send the Wheelix back. I think this has got to be a big game from the duo lane of the Athenian Sages. When it comes to priority support picks and priority carry picks, Freya and Maui are just about it from what we've seen over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, I got to agree. It can't be a quiet game from Wowie here. I don't want to see him hiding underneath tower. I don't want to see him sitting back and letting his team just sort of, you know, lose around him. I want to see him stepping up, trying to find 1v1s. Freya has some of the best box you can get. You're definitely outboxing a Chiron throughout the entirety of this game because one auto attack does that. And I don't want to see him hiding under tower any longer, but it looks like Leon also doesn't want to see the Sages hiding under tower. He's trying to force them out, look for a fight whenever possible. Does pull the beads from Short Fuse, using the blink in the process, so could be a target. I already talked about the ways that Short Fuse can just immune that pull, but damage is damage, and Wheelix has a ton of it this early on.
Bit different of a mindset for Slash this game. We'll stick with the Nike, stick with the axe start, but not right into the prophetic cloak. Instead, something in the shield tree will be that first option. The Athenian Sages dialing up Wowie, as we've talked about. Could be an early priority, but allowing Jengaru to play without too much pressure. Rolling through from Leon could be there as well. But think about a similar threat where Leon plus Oceans in game 1, it was Naja, Windfire Wheels into Whirlwind of Rage and Steel on cooldown. Similar opportunities with Oceans and Leon this game. A bit maybe shorter of a CC chain, but still have similar play off one another ability here. Once Oceans and Leon both hit level 5. Privative, though, it's a pivot here, Trey. He's gone beads, first item on this Maui, maybe sensing that threat.
Yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, in this matchup, you don't get to play the game as Maui because a lot of your engage is from that solar swing. So having that immunity to be able to actually set up and more specifically retreat when needed, I think is probably a smart call. And Priv also recognizes that last game, the Ymir was the target more often than not. There was a lot of first picks onto that support slot, so wanting to stay a bit safer, stay alive a bit longer. You can buff your team, you can provide that CC or that engage. I think that just shows the adaptations that have already been made here from the Sages from game 1. They were getting the better end of the farm in game number 1 as well. Not so much kills. It was they were losing those fights, but still staying relatively even this time. No kills have went through, and the game is still incredibly even gold-wise. But I imagine the kills will start to fly, maybe off some aggression towards this left side of the map. The shield buff, I feel, is where these duo laners really do start to scrap a bit. This is a very valuable buff, just getting that extra bit of HP. This time Wowie gets to pick it up. And Tuba has shown no want to box with this fray early on.
No, it's interesting. I mean, Tuba's gone out of this Chiron a couple games in a row, looked great in game 1. Almost like the artillery style AD carry. You send the ult through, you detonate the charges. We saw that do great things in the SPL last year. Realizing that there's going to be enough dive in on the rest of the team, you can just sit back and let the damage fly. I think, you know, Short Fuse got bullied out pretty heavily early in the game, even in the mid game. The damage just never really was there in game 1 out of the jungle for the Athenian Sages. So you're looking at this Kleena to try to make a mark here, Trelly, especially, you know, if you're continuing the conversation that we had about the duo lane. Maui, one of the most sought-after support picks. Same with the Freya. Kleena, whether it be, you know, over in duo lane or some other roles across the map, have been important. That is a knock-up and a pull onto Short Fuse, speaking of the Kleena. The pull never fully completes as the beads were expended. Another early beads burnt by the Leon Joshi combo.
That's a beautiful pull as well. I mean, it is very difficult to hit that max range knock up, and it seemed like Short Fuse assumed he was out of range.
Right back to blue.
So getting that beads down right over to blue buff. Make sure to put that pressure on Aremakami on this Achilles. All the while, he's getting pressure over in duo lane. Grab those bastions early, as Magical ADC should be able to. And taking away the speed buff there from Short Fuse. And this is
why there's 2 of them.
There is 2 of them. You get to save 1, but there's not 2 red buffs, and it looks like Leon is going to try and steal that one away. Not going to be able to. And here comes Privative, and they want to kill on Oceans.
Oceans is already belly flopped in. Now used as Intoxicate, but watch out. Once that belly flop is back up, there's the knock-up. Landfall from Privative. Actually pulls Leon right back into the fight. It's first blood already for the Athenian Sages. Oceans, the one who falls. And Jengaru, the one dealing the killing blow. Maybe a bit overzealous from the Kaolin Wardens.
Yeah, it seemed like Oceans thought that landfall was going to pull him back in regardless, so might as well flop in, hope that Slash can make the rotation and just decide to fight. Didn't exactly work out, and it looks like the first blood will go the way of Jengaru on this Agni. I mean, a lot of damage coming through late game, and getting off to a start like this definitely will help you out. But I think just a good rotation over from Priv as well. That fight probably just becomes a red buff invade. You attempt to steal and give up if the Maui doesn't make that jump over the tower, or over the wall, I guess, through the tower.
Yep.
So good on them. And that's going to help out. Just keep the farm neutral, because again, Jengaru does not want to get bullied, whereas Joshi's had free farm, was able to eat the speed buff by himself, and is sitting at level 9 already.
Sure is. Glad Shield start here for Slash. A second item after Prophetic was initially built. Slash was under a bit of pressure. The Sunder did some work there in game 1. Another knock-up for setup for LAON. Fatal strike to the side. Slash, though, drops the slow. Should be able to clean this up. And oh, that's nice healing from Remakami back on the other side. And LAON has the last bit of damage. Remakami did just about everything there, but drops just too much setup damage and lockdown from the Kaolin Wardens.
You know when you're watching football and the pump fake, like the camera follows the pump fake?
Right.
I went right. I was like, he's certainly ulting right. He switched back left at the last second. Good healing there as well with the axe proc and just the natural heal that Achilles has. And that's the benefit of that breastplate of regrowth. I think Remakami, if Short Fuse is anywhere in the vicinity, there's a chance those juke shoes get him out there because of how long he lived and how much he's able to use that movement speed and that heal to sort of juke around. Unfortunately, Wheelix has plenty of lockdown, and Slash was able to tank up as much as they really needed to make sure that gank goes through. So Achilles falls and gives that kill over to Leon. Level 9 on the Wheelix, a 2-level lead on Short Fuse.
Goodness, what's happened there? I mean, just the one kill.
Yeah, Short Fuse lost the speed buff, had to sit around for a bit, and I think this Wheelix has just been, you know, using Suku to traverse the map and take as much farm as possible.
It's worked out for LAON. But again, this was the story in game 1, where the kill for the Wardens, it's great, but it just stabilizes the gold because the Sages have done wonderfully in the farming elsewhere on the map. It's all this time building up Wowie. I continue to heap expectations on the left side, hoping to make it back into the SPL. It's a long competitive career. One of the best picks at the moment. Good setup around you. Get the ring online. Potentially demonic grip after that. Those two items make Freya very difficult to scrap up against. And Wowie will get there. One thing that's been different a bit in this set, though, Trelly, is we've seen a lot of like 6, 7, 8-minute Gold Furies in previous sets. Now, maybe those have been more lopsided right off the bat, but feels like we've been waiting, 10, 11, 12, 3, 4 minutes shifted down the road in the last couple games.
Yeah, this is elimination game. These teams are relatively evenly matched, you would think, if given the right opportunity. A swing from a Gold Fury could just change the game in your favor and you're going home. So I can see why both of these squads are playing this a bit safer. In this case, the Wardens have been getting the better end of the early game kill-wise, and even they are not going over towards these objectives. They know how much it could be thrown just by one mistimed cast towards trying to confirm that Fury early on. So looks like we're just going to be following a Wheelix. I mean, because Short Fuse has shown no sign to want to fight, sitting at 800 damage total, whereas Leon's sitting at 3,000.
Right.
Wherever the Wheelix goes, the fight goes, and Remakami definitely has a ward over. Uses an emote just to say, hey, I know exactly where you are and I'm not stepping up. So Leon's got to have to look somewhere else for his next gank.
And a good bit of that damage from Short Fuse was the only kill. It was some Yell damage onto Oceans. Built up. Sages, though, group up around the Gold Fury. Oceans is not going to be in time for this. Sages, great call around the left side objective. Privative uses the beads, but a landfall onto LAON. Will take a tower shot. He'll scurry away. Beads off of Priv. But Sage is happy just to take the advantage. Not game-breaking by any means, not just yet. It's opened up Slash to being slightly annoying.
He got the buff, man.
And ends up dropping the blue buff. I'm still not used to seeing the buff like behind the tower, like with all the leashing and stuff that ends up going on. That's where we've seen some fighting happening. Knock up, no good onto Remakami. Walks away just fine. Would have been under some threat. Might have seen a run back of exactly what just happened. Tier 2 Hydras for LAON. Would have been a nice bit of extra burst damage there. Oceans died in this spot. Maybe 5 or so minutes ago in this game, but he'll leap out. He'll be okay this time. Though continued right side pressure for the Wardens.
Yeah, Leon's still trying to find a pull through that wall. Remakami knows there's no way that he can really step up out of this tower line anytime soon, that is. Leon's still going to sit here. He's losing, apparently, not enough farm to warrant him actually walking out. They might even go for the tower dive here, remember. Slash has 2 health bars, essentially, with that ult. And it looks like they're just going to ult for the tower instead.
Yeah.
Just make sure they get that extra gold in pocket. And there's no other pressure. As long as Tuba doesn't step up past the halfway point, Short Fuse has 2 options. Match the rotation and try and help in the 2v2, which they don't think they're going to win, or try and force a gank over on left. And Tuba's playing far enough back that Short Fuse is just sapping farm from mid and saying, good luck, Remakami. I hope that the Achilles is able to live for a bit longer, but I'm not helping.
Now, Tuba, he's kicked up. He's stacking Transcendence, got Jotuns now. Though Wowie on the other side doing the same, couple rings, looking like a third ring right in a row here on this Freya. In a really, really good spot. That'll add to some health burn whenever these fights do end up breaking out. So I think early boxes checked here by the Athenian Sages, Trelly. They've not fallen behind in the same way that they did in Game 1. Already a couple thousand gold down at this point in the first game. Giving themselves every opportunity. You know, the cleanup maybe has been a bit less active, but maintained rate of farm. You're still getting to a really strong point on that pick. Leon blinks forward. Literally none of the knockups connecting on a short fuse, and you've used 2 blinks for that. If you're the Kaolin Wardens, but they'll double back for the Pyromancer. The fight maybe now brewing, though. Short fuse got to be careful. Landfall onto Ocean. Stun, damage, all of it, and it's enough. It's short fuse on the first. Remikami, though, dashes away. Auto attack not enough from Leon. Slash jumps forward and has the last bit, and in fact a double kill as the Sentinel of Zeus is used for the execute. The Wardens will trade out at least 2 for 1, though the tower still threatening. A rotation in from Tuba Trelly might make all the difference.
And it looks like Jangaru's going to fall down with a feather step, and Priv lives with 1 HP. Tuba makes the massive rotation, but where's Wowie? On the left side of the map, is trying to grab some farm in the meantime. Recognize, hey, maybe it's a dead fight. Maybe my rotation means nothing, but farm on the fray is more important. And it looks like losing the Pyromancer will be the call here. The Wardens, what a great time to dive. And I thought Short Fuse, the pre-beats to get into the wall, was able to escape unscathed there, but the rotation in from Slash turns out to be too much. And actually, if Wowie gets found out where he is here, could be in some trouble, but it looks like Slash just wants to take some farm and run away. I wanted to make sure I saw the build. Slash doesn't have too much magical defense, so I don't think wants to trade with Wowie too hard, but maybe is just sticking around to make sure there's no vision on this Oni Fury, or the Sages can't set up any sort of cheeky plays while everyone goes back to base.
Pyromancer, we're at the beginning of that scrap taken by the Kaolin Wardens. Slightly worrying trend for the Wardens is that not a lot of the belly flaps and jumps in have been connecting for knockups and pulls for Leon. Beads have been getting used, though. Jangaru, Priv still waiting a couple of minutes for those. Valuable target Jangaru would be on this Agni. Maui's looked good so far. Might need to see a bit more of it, though. Oni Fury now picked up by the Kaolin Wardens. It looks like the Sage is just scattering out a bit. Yeah, nobody from the Athenian Sage is going to step up around the Oni Fury, and shield buff for the Kaolin Wardens. Though it's slow, slow is fine here. And the Sages paying their respects to the Kaolin Wardens.
Yep, they're going to grab that one for free. We see a bit of a grouping towards the right side of the map, but since Wowie's going left, there's no way they try to go for any fire sneak. They just don't have the DPS to do it without him. I mean, Short Fuse brings a bit with Tear the Veil, but they really don't have enough to burst through this early 15-minute fire giant, so they're just going to have to give that Fury up on the left side of the map, and looks like just go back to farming here. They've got Oni minions to worry about. I want the Sages to force something here. If I'm Short Fuse, I'm probably sitting in left lane. I'm popping a sentry ward down, and then I'm just waiting to see if Tuba steps up, because you're not able to force anything else. You're not killing Slash anytime soon. It doesn't seem like Joshy's put himself out of position at all, and you definitely don't want to take a 1v1 versus a Wheelix in the jungle. Your only play is to play through Wowie and try and force Tuba back, but more often than not, he's underneath that tower line or barely at the halfway point. So Short Fuse hasn't really been able to find any sort of ganks on this side of the map. Maybe Priv is able to pull a relic to open up some doors.
Yeah, this hasn't been the same level of force from the Sages. I mean, I'm glad you bring up Wowie. 3 rings in. I mean, this is what you chill and farm for on the Freya, it feels like. You're in a really strong spot now. Problem for the Athenian Sages, there's nothing immediately on the map to fight over. Could be a shield buff, but the Kaolin Wardens have grouped effectively over on left. Solar swing forward from Privative. Look at the damage from Wowie. It's Ocean's being shredded through Valkyrie's discretion. 2 shots hit, but Ocean lives. And Leon and the rest of the Kaolin Wardens have just grouped better. They've chased down Privative. Wowie left running without ultimate. He'll fall. Fatal Strike blocked by the Kaolin Wardens, and Remikami will also come up empty-handed. The opening of the fight looked amazing, but the end of the fight looked terrible for the Athenian Sages. They've lost 3 for 1.
Yeah, Short Fuse is able to pick up 1 pick on the tail end there. Leon tries to find that solo in the jungle, but now Tier 1 towers being looked at. Maybe even pushing in for a Tier 2. what can the Sages do about it? I mean, most of them are dead at the moment. They can't really form any forward of defense. It looks like Priv will walk up to try and put a stop to this, as the rest of the team is split pushing. I like this play from Short Fuse. Get as much farm as you can. You can catch up in the jungle in the time being, but the levels are starting to grow to a scary degree. Slash is 3 levels up on Remakami. This Nike, nigh unkillable. Tier 2 tower just dropped as well. It is not going to be easy to siege any sort of fight anytime soon. Wow, he still has damage
this is good.
Are they going to leave this Nike, or is Tuba going to help with some damage? It looks like Tuba will, but this seems like a slow burn for Slash to eventually get caught out, right?
Short Fuse going to rotate through here as well. Short Fuse may actually be on the wrong side of this fight.
Wow.
Nice belch out from Ocean. Somehow Slash lives. And, you know, again, it's a glimpse at what now this Freya build can do. And Wowie had that opening. I mean, you go back to the fight that ended up going wrong. Wowie had that opening. Great poke damage on Oceans, who sort of melts under a lot of the damage that Wowie had. Couldn't finish up the kill, and it maybe just seemed like the Wardens were able to group up a bit quicker, a bit better.
Yeah, it seems like if Wowie can isolate his auto attacks on anyone that's not Slash,
right,
they get melted. The issue now becomes you have no relics. Once Valkyrie's discretion goes down, the Kaolin Wardens also have great damage, and you gotta watch your positioning. Pyromancer's being looked at here, as the rest of the Sages are sort of spread out throughout the map, but definitely focused towards the left side. Would they grab Primal Fury instead of defending Fire Giant? I don't think so, even this early on. You don't want to let that snowball get that massive. It's already pretty big, 4K gold in favor of the Wardens. You're probably playing for defense, you know, get your relics online, and I would just change up the whole game plan to trying to peel for this Freya. Whichever way you can, get some damage, get some CC, and more specifically, try and keep this Nike away from the Freya.
It's easier said than done.
Oh,
it's hard.
Not easy.
Slash has had a really nice set so far. 3-0-4 here in Game 2. Same pick in Game 1. Looked great then. 2-level lead now over Remakami, who on the Achilles made some plays happen in solo, largely to just keep themselves alive, but hasn't been able to get it done. Remember, this is a knockout game. The Athenian Sages lose here in Game 2. They are out of the tournament. No chance to qualify to the SPL this year from this event. So you're worried. You don't want to slow it down and let this game keep getting out of control. But 3,500 gold. How much do you really want to roll the dice on that? You're still within arm's reach, but you might lose fights. Some poke damage from Jengaru helps, but it's not much. Oh man, it's going to happen to Remakami again, isn't it? Fatal Strike. Sends him around to the side. Good stun, though, up and over the wall. Now it's Remakami doing the baiting, and Remakami lives. But Tuba has finished off the kill with his snipes, and Wowie has already used his ultimate. This is now a chance for the Kaolin Wardens to chase down the Freya, and LAON does just that. Again, it's an opening that looks good for the Sages, but it's dashed away by the Wardens.
Short Fuse is in the back line here. I guess the front line, depending on what you want to look at it, as this Primal Fury still is going to be looked at. Leon wants to go for the blink play, and he finds it too low to get into the wall, and Short Fuse goes down. That's that hunter instinct. You do not want to let a low health Cleanus sit by the wall when your team's doing an objective, and that Primal Fury will go down as well, slowly but surely. A Slash just plays zone duty and gets those prophetic stacks even higher as he just sits there clearing waves. I imagine the call should be back. Get all your items online and head over towards Fire Giant. We're at that point of the game. It's not going to burn quickly. The way that Tuba's built, I mean, you're not building auto attack Chiron, but point is you're not going to be shredding. You're definitely able to fight whoever steps up, though.
Yep. Yeah, it's felt awkward for Wowie, where there's so many low health targets. And then I think Valkyrie's discretion, he goes up, maybe trying to finish off some kills, but then the moment you land back down on the ground, you don't have beads, you don't have ult. I mean, barring a miracle whoop, LAON has been there the last couple of times. 9 of 10 affected kills for LAON. 9 of 10 affected kills for Slash. 8 of 10 for Joshi. So where Oceans was a pivotal piece of the initiation and the rotations in Game 1, it sort of shifted towards the right side of the map and getting this Nike involved while still rotating around with Joshi and LAON. Fire Giant now pulled. You got 2 runic bombs if you need them, but the Athenian Sages are going to show themselves on left. Kaolin Wardens know they're in mid, and it's Fire Giant defense time. Tournament lives on the line for the Athenian Sages.
Yeah, it looks like they might be trying to set up something here onto Slash. A 4-man grouping
Slash
around the
stops
Nike.
The back.
Are they going to be able to kill this Nike, though? I do not think so. It's going to take a bit, and actually half the team backed. Slash might just be stalling out here to see how long he can keep them around, because a right side Phoenix would be nice for the Kaolin Wardens. I think Slash is doing just that. Stop backs, follow them as far as you can without dying, and the right side Bird's being sieged.
Short Fuse wasn't even in that fight, and just now goes back.
Gone.
Blink and you miss it. Suddenly the right side Phoenix is gone. Slash lives. Had to use their ultimate, but I'm not sure he's worried about that. And then that's where that runic bomb comes into play as well. Big chunk of damage there in the middle of that siege. Just soften things up a little bit quicker for the Kaolin Wardens. You know, when you're in desperation mode, Trelly, I guess you got to look for plays like that. This one just did not work out.
Yeah, I think if the entirety of the Sages sat there, they still might not have killed Slash, but they would have lost Phoenix anyway, so maybe that was the call. It would have taken a bit if they wanted to chase him down fully. You lose one bird, and it looks like the full-on reset for both teams now. I'm trying to look for some power spikes that maybe could change the tides of this fight. You can see Crusher's already built, so Short Fuse building in a Titan's Bane. That would help some extra ability damage here. Jagaru's got the Charon's coin, so really he's just looking to upgrade that starter item. And Wowie is a level away as well.
Finishes up Magus.
And
so
the Gem of Focus could help that movement speed juking around the back line. But there's just way more power spikes to talk about on the side of the Wardens. You know, the Heartseeker finished up, Soul Reaver, upgraded starter for Joshi. Leon's got the Protector of the Jungle going into a serrated last item. Just plenty of damage on the side of the Wardens, and still no one's been able to kill this Nike. I mean, Slash is so tanky here. The Sundering Burst is available. Priv's got it. But it's kind of hard if you want to peel your team and also look for Slash, but you want to initiate. You got to almost have 3 different heads to try and just control that team fight the way that it's been going so far from the Wardens.
I know it's been sort of an awkward game for Remikami. Ends up picking up Heart Ward, where, you know, Joshi is the, I mean, I don't want to disrespect Oceans here, but the only big threat as far as magical damage goes. The rest of it's been a lot of physical between Leon. Now the Tiamat's right up there, I mean, above Tuba, so could get some value. Double loop from Wowie. Double pull in from Privative. This is the best fight we've seen start up for the Athenian Sages. Can you finish it off, though? Left side Phoenix is gone. And now one more up down from Slash, and that is a full health bar on a Nike. And a snipe from Tuba. That might just be it for the Athenian Sages. The Kaolin Wardens have shrugged off the miracle initiation of the Athenian Sages and are just 2 kills away, if even needed, from sending the Sages home.
Seems like the smart call is their play. They want to back up and get this bird first and then look to see if they can go for the end here. Beautiful knockup by Ocean. Short Fuse goes down, and that should be the end of this one. So many times we saw these low health targets walk away, and then Tuba just hits that fadeaway, that masterful shot to make sure that no one gets back to base. Clean play throughout. As you already highlighted, so much kill participation there from Elion. There was plenty of play from Oceans that first game, and even this one. It just didn't seem like they were unfazed at all. They were just locked into that game.
Yeah, it's a tough